So that would mean that it's not in the same category as shchita. So therefore you chayiv two. Abaya Amar Fil Divrei Rabbi Kiva and chayiv alachas. Abaya says that even according to Rabbi Kiva, you only chayiv one. Why? Damar Kras Sham Tase. Because I have another pasuk that says that over there you'll perform this service. Hakasav asan lekulan avoda achas. Anything that's not offering the sacrifice is considered one thing. There's only one prohibition for that, which means whether it's the slaughtering or whether it's the sprinkling or whatever else would be included, I don't know. But that's only considered one. So it's a machlekes Abaya and Rabavo. Rabavo was well before Abaya. And Rabavo was in Eretz Yisrael. He was in Kisrin, Caesarea.
Kisrin זה בצפון,
right, in the north, yeah.
The Golan side. It used to be Gamla, used to be a lot of Jewish places over there.
They have all the fortresses, right? All the.
Yeah.
I thought it's on the Mediterranean.
No,
Caesarea?
no Caesarea, Kitzrin.
No, this is.
Caesarea?
I think Caesarea. This is Caesarea. Rabavo was in Caesarea, I think.
Caesarea is on the Mediterranean, like Jeffrey said.
It's like Syria.
Yeah, but it's in the north, right?
Yeah.
Not much in the north. It's next to Tel Aviv. I mean, we're not.
Hour from Tel Aviv.
Kitzrin is בצפון, on the Golan Heights.
I think that's where Rabavo was. He was in Eretz Yisrael. Abaya was much later. So 50, 100 years later. He's in Bavel. So Abaya argues on him.
Abaya and Rava were both in Bavel?
Yeah. Yeah, they were in. Rava lived in a city called Mechuzah. Abaya, I believe, lived in Pumpadisa. And Rabba was also in Pumpadisa, the teacher. Rabba was the teacher. So, next case. Zorak Behela. Let's say someone sprinkled the blood, and then he brought up the sacrifice. That means he put it on the fire outside the temple. According to Rabbi Shmuel, you chayiv too. Why? Because Rabbi Shmuel held that zrika was like shchita. Now you did the shchita and not actually the shchita, but something that was learned from that verse. According to Rabbi Akiva, you only chayiv one, because Rabbi Akiva learned it from a verse that was associated with offering the zrika, the sprinkling of the blood. He learned from a verse that was associated with bringing the sacrifice on the altar. So therefore, it's only one verse. It's only Abaya Amar. Abaya now says the opposite. He says, "Afil divrei Rabbi Akiva chayiv shtayim." Even according to Rabbi Akiva, chayiv two. Lachi palginu kra sham tala v'sham tasa. The tala, the offering of the sacrifice, is always unique. Everything else goes under a different category, and it goes under one category, according to Abaya. So Rabbi Akiva would say that over here you chayiv two, because you offered it, and then everything else, which was the sprinkling of the blood. So that's two. So that's a machlekes in what Rabbi Akiva holds between Rabavo and Abaya. Now you have a third case. Shachat v'zarak v'hela. He slaughtered it, he sprinkled the blood, and he brought it up. L'divrei kol chayiv shtayim. According to everyone, you chayiv two.
What happened? I'm sorry, what was that?
When you do those three,
Shachat v'zarak?
Shachat v'zarak v'hela. He slaughtered it, he sprinkled the blood, and he brought it up outside the temple. He's chayiv only two sacrifices. Or two...
He did everything outside, right?
Right.
Shachat v'zarak v'hela.
Okay. Why is he chayiv two, according to everyone? Well, Rabbi Shmuel would say that shachat and zarak is one. Same verse. And v'hela is the other one. It's a different verse. Rabbi Akiva would say... it depends according to Rabavo. According to Rabavo, Rabbi Akiva would say that shachat is one, and zarak v'hela is one. That's what Rabavo would say. Abaya would say shachat v'zarak is one, and v'hela is the other one, because hela is always unique according to Abaya. But either way, according to however you're going to learn this, all Rabbi Shmuel. I'm sorry?
Whether it's Rabbi Yeshua or Rabbi Akiva, you're over two lavs.
Yeah.
It's just...
And whether it's Rabbi Shmuel or Rabbi Akiva, whether it's Abaya or Rabavo, it's only two.
Okay.
Because they had a machlekes and what the machlekes is. Okay. This next piece, it's a little bit complex to read because of the different texts here. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught. I'm going to read it the way my thing here says. Oya yishchat michutz lamachna. You have to jump down after. Or if he slaughters it outside the camp. Maybe if he slaughters it outside, only if he slaughters it outside the 3 camps, outside of Jerusalem, that's when he's going to be chayiv. How do you know if he slaughters it in the camp of the Levites that he's also chayiv? It says also, or in the camp. If it's in the camp, now let's go back to inside the Gemara. Maybe the burnt offering is supposed to be slaughtered on the north. Maybe if he slaughters it on the south, he's going to be chayiv because it's not in the right place. If in the camp he's chayiv for slaughtering. I have to take out. You have to take out. It says outside the camp. Just like outside the camp, you don't do any slaughtering over there of sacrifices. What's that next one? It's not. Also, in the camp, it can't be fit for any slaughtering. However, the south, even though you don't slaughter the holy sacrifices there, but you slaughter the of secondary holiness, you do slaughter there. So that's not going to be the prohibition of slaughtering outside the temple. Amar Ula, Hasheichet al Gagai. This is really interesting. Shel Heichal. If someone slaughters on the roof of the Heichal, so he goes up into in the sanctuary itself. He goes up to the roof and he slaughters up there. Sacrifice is chayiv. Why? This is based on what you just said. That if it's a place where even in the camp no sacrifices are slaughtered there, he told me that on the south, even though it's supposed to be slaughtered on the north, you slaughter on the south, it's not a prohibition because some sacrifices are slaughtered on the south. But on the roof, no sacrifices are slaughtered, so that should be the prohibition. Should be chayiv. So Maskef LaRava, Rava asked to him, Ula would travel back and forth. So I guess when he was in Bavel, Rava asked him, let the pasuk say, B'machane vel michutz. Why does it say that you did not bring it to the entrance to the tent of meeting? Al Pesach El Mayed Lamali. Why does it need to say you didn't bring it to the entrance to the tent of meeting? Just say it was slaughtered outside the camp.
And we thought Kedusha rises. That was the whole thing with the Mizbeach. If you drag it or if you can just throw it on?
You're saying because the height, it should be because it's up top, so it should be allowed.
So regarding the Mizbeach,
actually, on the Mizbeach, we said that if someone slaughters it on the Mizbeach, it was kosher.
Right.
We had a special verse that taught us that. But this is on the roof of the temple itself.
Separation.
It's a different spot.
It's outside too, right? It's not
Well,
considered inside.
No, it is. It's in the courtyard, but it's not in. It's an area in the courtyard where no sacrifices were slaughtered. So why does it need to say? Rav is asking. Why does it need to say that it wasn't brought to the entrance of the tent? Lav lemute gaga. It must be excluding that. How do you get it on the roof? You had to bring it to the entrance. So that means that here he did bring it to the entrance. So he should be exempt. Why does he need el michutz lamachane lamali? Why does it need to say el michutz lamachane? You see, because what we get from michutz lamachane is even something that's in the camp, but that's a place where no sacrifices were slaughtered. It's still that prohibition. According to Rava, there's no such thing because how did you get it onto the roof? Lablasu yigagai. It must be coming to include the roof. That the roof is under that category of outside the camp. So Amar Rav Mari lasu yikula b'fnim b'tzavar b'chutz. Rav Mari says it's coming to include, very interesting, if the animal is inside the courtyard, but the head of the animal is outside the courtyard, it's coming to tell me that he's chayev, because it's michutz lamachana. The head is outside, so the slaughtering was done outside the courtyard, in the doorway. Where it says pshita. Yeah, I'm sorry. Im tzavara b'chutz. If the neck is outside, pshita. Obviously, that's outside. Amai kapid rachmana. What was the merciful one concerned over? Ashchita, that it shouldn't be slaughtered outside the camp, and it was. Ashchita b'chutzi must be different. Elala asuye. What's the pasuk including? Kula b'chutz v'tzavara b'fnim. It's coming to include if the animal is outside and the neck is inside. This is surprising, that even though the slaughtering was done inside, but because the animal was outside, this is considered slaughtered outside.
The majority of the animals slaughtered outside.
Right. So this is the chiddush from that pasuk. Okay. The next Gemara is very important. Itmar. Hamala bizman hazeh. Someone that brings a sacrifice outside the temple nowadays. Right? Every year.
They were talking about that time.
Yeah.
The Amoraim,
right.
As you said, it was
right.
Okay.
But every year, Pesach time, they have some people, Samaritans, or some people that in Central Park or whatever, they're with the Paschal lamb, but they just do it like wherever they get arrested, usually in public places. But in Israel, they do it. They bring a Pesach, the Samaritans and whatever.
Didn't you once say that the Rebbe once said that about
that
the
was
6
actually
day
that
war?
was on the Temple Mount, because when they got the area back in '67, when they got it back, there was a question: should they be going to the Temple Mount to offer the sacrifice?
There was actually a question.
There was a question then. That was a big question. Now we're talking about if you do it not in the Temple Mount. So, the question is: are we considered in a time?
What the Rebbe answer wasn't good now, for sure.
Well, that year the Rebbe said everyone should leave Jerusalem for Pesach because he didn't have time to look into it.
Mm.
And then after that, they looked into it and they saw that it was okay. They didn't have to bring the even if because if you're outside the city, 15 mil or something, right? 15 mil, which is a certain amount of area that it would take to walk. Then they're not obligated to go bring the sacrifice. Okay. Pesach Sheni.
I'm curious how many miles that is. That's what they considered outside of. I guess outside of Yerushalayim, right?
2,000 amas.
It's outside of Yerushalayim, like
the mil is 2,000 amas. So 15 mil is 30,000 amas. Each amma is
1.5 feet, right?
Yeah. So something like that. 10 miles, 5,000.
Even now, today, Bet Shemesh considered as Yerushalayim.
Oh, yeah.
Today. Because they're going to unite it, all those areas. And then Jerusalem.
In the modern Jerusalem, in the
modern Jerusalem today is considered like Jerusalem then. It's saying when you connect all those cities together, it's like it's.
Okay, so if someone brings a sacrifice nowadays, Rabbi Yochanan Amar Chayev. Rabbi Yochanan says that he's Chayev. Rish Lakish Amar Patur. We'll explain the logic for this in a moment. Rish Lakish says he's exempt. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Chayev. Rabbi Yochanan says he's Chayev. Why? Kedusha Rishayna Kitshel L'Shaita. When they sanctified that area of the temple, they sanctified it for its time, the Kitshel Asad Lava, and they sanctified it for all future times. So therefore, it's as if the temple is still there. And if the temple is standing, sacrifices need to go to the temple. If you bring it outside the temple, it's Chayev. Rish Lakish Amar Patur. Rish Lakish says he's exempt. Why? Kedusha Rishayna Kitshel L'Shaita. When they sanctified the temple, it was for its time. V'loi Kitshel Asad Lava, but they did not sanctify it for all times. Once the temple was destroyed, it was done. And therefore, there's no temple. No temple, you could bring it on a private altar.
This was Reish Lakish.
Reish Lakish. Name the beplukta de Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shua k'miflugi. Let's say that the machlekes between Rabbi Yechon and Reish Lakish is the same machlekes as the machlekes Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shua, which was much earlier. The Tanan that it was taught in the Mishnah. Amar Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says, this is Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkanus. This is in the second temple, when they were building the second temple, in the days of Ezra. They had to set up enclosures, partitions, and they set up partitions, like temporary partitions, and then they were building with the stone walls right next to the partition. Where did they put the wall? Inside the partition or outside the partition? So in the Heichal, they were putting the partition inside, and the wall was built around the outside of it. In the Azara, the partition was on the outside, and they were putting the wall on the inside. Amar Rabbi Shua. Rabbi Shua says, Shemati shayimakriven afal pi shein bayis, boichlin kachi kachim afal pi shein klaim. I heard that they were offering sacrifices even if the house wasn't built, the structure, and they were eating sacrifices even though there was no enclosure. Kachim kalamu ma'aser sheni, they were eating the secondary holiness sacrifices, and ma'aser sheni afal pi shein chayma, even though there was no wall of Yerushalayim. And they shekdush Yerushalayim kitchel l'shaytu kitchel asalavai, because the original sanctification of Yerushalayim, of the temple, was there originally, and it was there for all times. So according to Rabbi Yeshua, you didn't need to set up an enclosure to have things being performed while it was being built.
So you're putter.
So if someone would bring a sacrifice now outside the temple, according to Rabbi Yeshua, it'd be chayev, because it was always sanctified. It's even sanctified now.
You say,
and if the temple is there,
you say it's
if
always.
the temple is there, we're not allowed to bring it up. If the holiness is there,
the holiness stays forever. It
stays forever. Lav Mechlal, is this not the Rabbi Eliezer Savar like Kitcha? Rabbi Eliezer holds that it wasn't sanctified for all times. Amle Ravina Ravashi. Ravina says to Ravashi Mimai, how do you know that that's the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, that it wasn't holy? And that's why they had to set up enclosures to make it holy. Dilma de Kuli Alma, Kitcha Rishayna, Kitcha Lasalave. Maybe everyone holds Kitcha Lashayta, Kitcha Lasal, everyone holds that it was sanctified for its time and it was sanctified forever. Umar, and this is the Rabbi Eliezer, the Shmiele Kamar. This is what he heard from his teachers. Umar my Deshmiele Kamar. This one says what he heard from his teachers, but nothing to do with, that just has to do with how it was built, but not to do with if it was sanctified. If you're going to ask, why does Rabbi Eliezer need enclosures? If it was sanctified already, and it's still sanctified, why do you have to mark it off? L'tznius ba'alma. Just for tznius purposes. You shouldn't be looking in while they're building into the area that was sanctified. But not because they had to actually sanctify it with the enclosures. It was sanctified already. Okay. Let's grab this.